Good morning. Good morning. So today's topic is going to be on syndications. And before you invest in a syndication, you really need to watch this entire video. Now, I want to go ahead and get started. Most people believe, now this is true, most people believe that syndications are passive income. They're going to just throw their money in, the operator's going to do all the work, and they're going to just start collecting checks. Now, that's exactly how people lose money. And if you think it can't happen, it happens to people all the time. You can look around the internet, you can look on Facebook, you can look at all these social media. There are tons of people that have lost money because they truly didn't understand what it meant to get into a syndication, and they hadn't really vetted out the entire process. So what I'm hoping is that we can actually cover some of these topics, and I can help you get to a point where you're not going to be one of those people that possibly could lose your retirement income, lose all of your life savings, any one of those things. So let's go ahead and get started. Number one, you are investing in the operator. Now, this is non-negotiable. It's not one of those conversations where you're like, well, I like the guy, or he's got a really good sales pitch. If this individual has not executed or does not execute, you're going to lose money. So here are some of the questions you need to ask. Have they ever actually done this type of deal before? Have they ever actually worked inside of this asset class? Have they went full cycle? What does that mean? That means, have they bought? Have they operated it successfully? And have they sold it? Because at the end of the day, the buying process is probably the easiest. The buying process is probably the easiest because if they buy a crappy product, all they're going to do is ask their investors for more money, right? So you have to make sure that you completely trust your operator. Now, here's the other thing. If they've never operated this size, right, of product or real estate or whatever you're investing in, then should you trust them to be able to handle your money? It's totally up to you. But again, you need to make sure you completely understand the operator, who they are. Do you trust them? And do you trust them to have your money? Number two, underwriting versus reality. Now, a lot of people get tricked because what they do is they will listen to the operator, but they haven't validated that the pro forma is actually even close to the truth, right? Pro formas lie, just like some of these operators. You know, are the future rents viable? And if they are, why hasn't the person that's selling the property actually already done something about it? What are the reasons behind it? Have they started renovating? They got a few units that are not done. Have they proven out this market rent? What work has to be done in order to actually make this market rent work, right? Then you're also talking about lower expenses. How so? Are the lower expenses actually something that can be validated? Do you see things like water leaks? Do they have electricity things that can be validated or fixed? If those are not the case, then you're just going off of wishful thinking. And wishful thinking is going to cost you money, right? What are the actual numbers today? That's how you want to start when you're validating the price point on this product. Now, if you ask your operator if you can see the T12 or if you can see the rent rolls and they don't want to offer you those things, maybe you should check out a new operator, right? Now, let's go ahead and continue on. Every syndication really needs to have a story. What is the business plan? What are we going to renovate, right? What are we going to actually renovate? When and where are we going to raise rents? Do we have a story of how we're going to go to, say, $1,000 a unit to $1,200 a unit? What does stabilization actually look at? Because here's the thing. If there is no plan to take this from $1,000 to $1,200 a rent, or to lower the water bill by $1,000 a month. All of those things need to be validated. And if you hear this story and it sounds too good to be true, you need to ask why, because the higher the more aggressive this plan actually is, the more risk it's going to have for you as the person investing your hard-earned money, right? Again, don't be afraid to ask those questions. If the operator doesn't want to answer the questions or they find it's too hard, maybe you need to go with another operator. Maybe you need to look at another deal. Now, we also want to talk about something else. Who gets paid? How do they get paid? When do they get paid? Right? If the operator and everyone is getting paid before you, and you're not getting any money, that is something to think about. What is a preferred return? Is it a 6%, 7%, 8%? What are the profit splits? 70-30, 80-20, 90-10. How are those actually set up? What are the acquisition fees? Right? How is the operator getting paid with acquisition fees? What are the asset management fees? It could be 2, 3, 4, 5%. Again, if the operator is getting paid before you do, you could be seeing a problem. You want to have alignment in this situation. Now, what is the debt risk? Okay, do we have fixed or floating rate? What is the rate cap? When is this actually going to mature? Is it going to mature in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years? Is there something like yield maintenance on this thing? What are the pieces of the debt that you need to actually understand? And if you don't understand how the debt's going to work, how do you know what's going to happen with your money? Again, don't be afraid to ask questions. Very important. Now, also, what happens if you're in the middle of this loan, rates go up, you have no cash flow, or something, Lord forbid, like COVID happens, and all of a sudden your insurance has tripled, right? Your rates have skyrocketed. You're no longer sitting at 3%, you're looking at 7%. What happens in those situations? Will there be a capital call? If there's a capital call, what happens to your money? Do you have to invest more, or in order to save your money? Do you have to invest more? Is it mandatory? Can somebody else invest? Again, ask questions. Now, a lot can be destroyed with bad debt. A lot. You could lose everything with bad debt. You can get foreclosed with bad debt. If this thing stops making money, what's the bank going to do? How are they going to resolve the issue? Those are the things you really need to understand. Now, liquidity. You're not going to be able to just pull this money out. You don't control it. So if there are some bad decisions that you don't like, are you able to work through this with your operator? Because you're going to feel the pain. But how are you going to fix it? What are you going to be your next step? Again, you don't control the decisions. You're just along for that ride. Okay. Now let's go ahead and call out all the things I talked about. Number one, operator risk, inexperience, poor management, bad decision making. Number two, market risk, rent declines, job losses in that area, oversupply, anything like that kills this market, or is this market going up? Execution risk. Are the renovations going to go over budget? Are the lease ups taking longer than expected? Are the rent increases taking longer than expected? Are you still able to reduce the expenses? Debt risk, rising interest rates, loan maturity, all of those things you need to make sure you can pay attention to. Will there be refinance risk? Right? If we're going to refinance, how does that actually look? Right? Liquidity. Money's going to be locked up. How long? 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. No easy exit is a problem. Okay. If you're unable to exit, it can be a problem. You should know that up front. Capital calls. What happens in a capital call scenario? And last but not least, over optimistic underwriting. Make sure you've underwritten it just as much as you've depended on the operator underwriting it. Now, here's the truth of the matter. I'm not saying I don't believe in syndications. What I am saying is that they can build serious wealth, but only if you understand that it's not passive. You have to make sure that you understand what's going on with the deal. You've vetted these operators. You've questioned any assumptions. Again, don't be afraid to ask questions, and you make sure they've protected the downside. Because the fact of the matter is, when you're in a syndication world, you're not going to win by going out here and hitting home runs. You're only winning as long as you're not actually losing money. Now, if you want to actually learn more, right, go to thebalancemethod.com, see what we have to offer. We talk about how to invest in small multifamily products, and we would love to see you. Again, hope you have a great morning, and talk to you later. Thank you.